I've chosen a framed piece of a poppy. It's an iconic image nowadays of remembrance. And what drew me to this is that the exposure of this poppy has been several times, and there's a fading poppy. And it's like memories are fading. There is this sense of the generations that are living now have no connection with what happened in the world wars. Being a calligrapher and illuminator, I was very attracted to what seems to be a line of gold. The line of gold is like embers, the burning embers that's left, but it's obviously it's not part of a fire. So I don't quite understand what I'm looking at, but it's so vibrant and it's so alive. I just love it. What drew me initially was the gold in the almost centre of the image. I was also drawn to, below that, there's some imagery that almost looks Japanese, which again I find I'm drawn to. And then above that you have markings. Is that a tree or is it a stone? But whatever it is, it's the markings on it. Looks very Norse, and don't have to know what it is. That's the whole point. It's enjoying what you're seeing for what it is, and let your own imagination take you there, take you somewhere. Centerpiece is probably a stone with lots of flourishing of, I think Rebecca had said it was ice, perhaps. I suspect it's probably water, maybe. But again, there's movement, it's drawing you in. And again, there's a language here as well. It's just mysteriously beautiful.
I chose this pair of cormorants because they look so close, married even, and I thought they looked so sweet. A close-up of a pair of cormorants, and they seem to be communicating with each other, and I just thought it was sweet. And I just was drawn to their closeness and the way they were so happy in each other's company. I was drawn to that one because Gunnie Moberg said that she looks from the sky and the landscape looks like jewels to her. And I was drawn to it because to me that road and this hummock looks a bit like jewelry from the sky. It's an aerial photograph, and it just shows the landscape in a different way that is very stimulating. That building reminded me of the jewelry that she spoke about from the sky. All those shapes, the rectangle and the funnel of the church. Rebecca taught us to look for diagonal lines because they add interest to the photograph. And of course there is a big diagonal line in that picture, which makes it more interesting. It's as if the sheep were out eating seaweed and the tide came in and caught them, and they ran into a little corral of stone that saved them from the sea. So they're in this little corral and the sea is all around them and they're safe in this little corral, cut off till the tide goes out again. It's of ponies galloping, and there's a lead pony, and it's the way they're all bonded and following this lead pony, and they're all communicating in their horse language, which draws me to it. And yeah, it's movement and leadership and body language. And I love the sky in it and the grass. It's as if they're on a mission, on a journey. You wonder where they're going.
Rather a mixture of things. It's not the flowers per se I'm drawn to. It's out of focus, especially that one. That draws me out of focus. That's how kind of my picture. A lot of my pictures are like hit or miss, and usually 90 out of a little one that'll get out of focus, and like a one that's just perfect. And like that, I've got one that actually fits that perfect. That one's more movement, but I think that's more like water. To me, my image is like it's underwater and movement. I've not seen a photo or something like that before. So we went interesting to see how she did it. So I don't know, it could be a bird or a fish. I mean, to me that could be like looking into a tank, that's top of the water, and that's under the water. When you do the digital, you can change things for colours and all that. She's probably done something like that with a camera to change the image, to make it like that. I mean, I wouldn't get that exact thing with the digital, because I just don't know how you would do that with digital at all. But it's a challenge figuring out how to go about reproducing something like that. I mean, the clouds, I'm not a clouds person. It's just I thought like what I could do with it. And I was choosing my pictures, it wasn't about I'm into clouds or I'm into this or into that. It's what I can produce to recreate that. And to me, mine wouldn't be of clouds. I want to do something else, but to give the image of clouds, I just put thoughts in my head like how I would do it, and the way I would do it. Because I'm not a walk around person taking click, click, click. I'm a planner. I plan my pictures. And I'll take about 10, 20 pictures of one thing, and I'll get 2 good pictures or 3 hits out of 10, but I'm happy with that.
The first one that I've chosen is about gannets. It's a gathering of gannets and aerial shots on a rock. You've got a turbulent sea around it, and it's absolutely fascinating because the gannets just look like little dots, like beady dots, but yet you've got 1 or 2 flying about, like milling around. But it's just kind of just the gathering together, and it's a community. It's a community of gannets, that's what it is. But it really reminded me of a photograph that I took of spiderlings in macro, which is very close up. And the teeny baby spiders, really tiny. And the shape of them gathering together as a community, because it's so small, looks very similar to those gannets. Albeit 2 different species entirely, different sizes, everything's different, but yeah, it's a similar effect. So that's what brought it to mind, basically. Another one I was drawn to was of a road, a mill road on Papastur. It looks like a road, well, it's got the outline of a road, but it's like the rest of the landscape, it's barren. There's no concrete, there's grass, rocks, you name it, that's what's on it. And it made me think of a photograph I'd taken of my own on Orkney, of the causeway, the difference in the landscape, the difference in the roads. The modern roads are so different than the original roads that people used to have to go along. It's just incredible, the difference. And yet the islands are not that far apart. The shape of the road going into the distance, it's going in away from you, so it's kind of going into a triangular shape, and then it goes off to the left. And the causeway one, again, it goes off to a triangular shape, and it goes around to the left, so it goes around to the same way, same direction, yet it's totally different. One of the photos of Gunnie's that I was attracted to was one of a harbour, and you've got all the seagulls in the sky hovering around, hopefully getting some food, picking up scraps and what have you. And in it there's an old Ford, I believe it's a Cortina. That's what drew me initially, because my dad used to be a mechanic in the 70s and 80s. I thought, wow. So I spent some time actually trying to recognise whether it was. So that was really interesting. The fact it's just there. And then you've got a chappie in a tie. Now, what he's doing there could have a can of beer in his hand. I'm not sure. I mean, he's got other clothes on as well, obviously. But it's just so intriguing. There's so much in this photograph. It's a working harbour, but yet you've got building work going on, because you've got a concrete mixer there with bricks or could be breeze blocks ready to build something new. So what, are they extending it? Are they rebuilding? Who knows?
Stromness is a town that is my favourite in Orkney and all of Orkney, and this particularly shows me the old townhouses and their own wharfs and whatnot at the back of them. What a place to live, awesome. I just love how there's so many houses packed into such a photograph. And my next one is also from Stromness, but it's a black and white, looking down a close. It's very, very dramatic, and you've got quite a lot of negative space in there with a little slit of something going on. And I've got a photograph in mind for that one as well. This is an awesome photograph of, I believe it's Jerry, one of the Frisian stallions that goes around, or used to go around Stromness. He's part of a team, Tom and Jerry, well-known faces they are. And as I used to work in the horse industry and still love horses, he's a fine figure of a boy, is this lad. And then finally, this is really, really quite a different style. And it's a photograph of various grasses and vegetation at night with the moon in the back. Quite a lot of dead space or negative space in that with the moon just sat in it. But we have stuff going on in the foreground. And it looks very, very different. It's obviously a shot taken with flash at night, so I'm going to see what I can do with that.
One of the first ones I was drawn to is this rather interesting one at someone's home. I'm seeing wetsuits in the background, and I'm also observing the fish on the line, and we think it could be mackerel. And they're obviously drying it out on their own fishing line. I'm also noticing children's toys in the garden. So it's obviously a family home. Maybe it's their own business, I wonder. It probably is. I can see the circle theme, the toys, the toy tractors. And I can see squares, the house, rectangle shape. And triangle, triangle, triangle. See mass coming on, triangle again, lots of shapes and lengthwise for the fish. Not. So I quite like that one. I do like animals, and these sheep just look, well, they look quite content. They look like they're looking out to sea, and it works really well in black and white. And the sheep look really, really chilled, and they look well looked after, so I like that one. I like this one because we're rather fond of birds. I think I get it from my mum. And it's black and white. And I also very fond of reflections. And I think this just amalgamates well. You've got the reflection from the sun, the bird on the wing, little islands off islands in Shetland, and a lovely gentle ripple of the light. It's a delight. Got a poem in.
Great.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.